Patrick Vieira, club legend, and shove it up your arsenal, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Miles Offside podcast, where we talk a little bit of football and a whole lot of nonsense. My name is Chuck Bailey, your favourite. Thank you very much for all the plaudits. And with me, as ever, is the man from the Midlands, owner of, I believe, upwards of 3 different cheeses. Any one time. Fridge. Yeah. Super producer, Mr. Ian Stimson. Yeah. Believe it or not, completely did that bit off the top of my head. That's good, isn't it? How the devil are you, sir?
Felt so written and polished. Some of the cheeses are blue sometimes. A bit of blue.
Well, this is it. Not intentionally.
No, it's just been left in there a long time, and my fridge is broken. Not too bad. Little bit tired. The work cycle, drags you down, doesn't it? But we've got football back, so that's something to be happy about.
Yeah, little column A, little column B. Yeah, it definitely felt like that after the international break. I think it's hard to know now that we, it's rare that we get Oscar with us, sadly at the minute, but we'll of course hear from him later, that a lot of these records now tend to blend into one, so I forget what we've spoken about to who. And I'm really conscious of just whether I'm going to slag off a load of people that are actually listening to the podcast. Sorry, Adam, you prick.
I don't know who you're talking to, whether you should be leading with, your FPL team and how well you're doing and that sort of thing.
64 points, yeah, no problem. 64 points this week. Yeah, no chips. 23k into world. But yeah, coming off the back of this international break, feel quite, in sporting terms, quite nicely refreshed and ready for this next chaotic, fucking crazy run that we find ourselves on, right?
Yeah, I mean, Liverpool is always given us the example of this because they've got 80 bajillion games in 2 days or something.
No, I believe it's gone down to 70 bajillion now.
What does he moan about? Honestly,
anything, weather, length of grass.
Yeah, sure.
Wind,
but It's a bit rough for a lot of teams. We've still got, even though we've had double game weeks announced, I'm fully in FPL mode now, obviously.
Yeah, no, that's a good frame of reference. Yeah, I forgot that those have been announced today and fixtures got moved, haven't they?
Yeah, so there's double game weeks in 36 and 37, but there's still games to be announced because of all the. You forget about the COVID backlog we've got ourselves, and then Burnley have still got 10 games to play or something, haven't they? I mean, it's
wild.
In their march towards 17th.
Rampant charge to maybe not getting relegated. Yeah, they've got 10 games left. We're recording on, what day is it?
It's Tuesday for us.
Thanks.
That's how it works.
Oh, fucking hell.
Yeah.
Genuinely, I don't even need that as a bit and as an aside that gets edited out. Just gone. We're recording Tuesday, so right now we've got, there's a couple of Champions League games going on, and Burnley Everton, the proper dogshit derby, is on Thursday, I believe.
Yeah. I think it might be Wednesday, but the listener, either way, the listener will know what's happened.
Come join us in this state of ignorance of this game not happening yet. Pretend you're also on Tuesday.
Record Burnley Everton. Listen to the podcast first. And then don't watch it. Do something else with your life.
Yeah. Because you capture the present of what the thing happens, and then you delete that time.
Yeah. You're, in a way, you're buying that time back for yourself. That would feel positive, I think.
Can I invoice Sky as a reduction for the audacity of putting that on my television?
I didn't watch this, and you put it on, and I nearly wasted my time. Give me £2 back.
400 people complained, and as we know, each complaint is worth 100 million people.
Yeah, exactly. That's how Ofcom works and all that, isn't it?
This is how Ofcom works. But anyway, that's enough for that section, and no one mentioned fish. But yeah, of course, it has been, an emotional thrill ride of a weekend. Plenty of goals, and there's some good and bad in terms of the pod parish. Ian, a Peterborough update, dare I?
Oh, good Lord.
Didn't you draw?
Got a draw. The days when we could draw games, God. No, we lost 4-0 at home to Middlesbrough. And on a week when Barnsley and Reading were playing each other. So one of them was guaranteed to drop points, good chance. Lovely home game. Oh, no, 4-0. Lovely, fine.
Oh, dear.
We're playing Luton as we speak.
The Stimson derby.
Well, yeah, exactly, yeah. But
Stimson versus Stimson with Gene Hackman. Not Gene Hackman. Who's the guy? Richard Gere? No. Kramer versus Kramer.
Kramer versus Kramer. Oh, God.
Dustin Hoffman. Thanks.
Blimey.
Thanks, guys.
Did well there, didn't we?
Round the houses.
Yeah, I mean, Luton are a story in the Championship at the minute. Luton and Nottingham Forest seem to be the thing. But anyway, Peterborough, we're fucking hammering them on XG at the minute. Go on.
Yeah?
0-0.
That means anything, fucking anything. It's that thin, it's that fucking desperate.
We're nowhere near, we're nowhere near being able to
I'm sorry I asked.
compete. Yeah, exactly. I'm sorry I had to talk about it.
Anyway, speaking of not being able to compete, Chelsea 1, Brentford 4.
Oh, dear.
Oh, lost, getting relegated to a bus stop in Hounslow. But the XG is 1.9 to 2.2. We could put a quick Burnley of the week in there.
Do we want to put that? I don't want to do Brentford the disservice of even a quick Burnley of the week.
The only reason I do want to is because of Oscar, so that at least he can try and justify himself in some form of statistical way, at least that it wasn't that bad. Or if he does want to try and protect himself from this by saying the league is over for them anyway and it doesn't fucking matter where they finish.
Well, yeah, let's listen to what Oscar says, because you're right. He's decided that this doesn't matter, I think.
Hey everybody, it's Oscar here with another 30-second one-shot Chelsea Superfast Chelsea Takes thing. So timer begins.
So keep the pace up.
Now,
How long?
So Chelsea hilariously lost to Brentford 4-1. I don't know why they just decided to not defend, but it was pretty hilarious in my opinion. I'm kind of at the point where nothing really matters what happens in the league. We're 96% for top 4. We already failed by not winning, so if we finish 3rd or 4th or whatever, as long as we get the Champions League, that's really all that matters. The only thing I care about now is said Champions League. Come on, boys, let's beat Real Madrid. And the new ownership, hashtag say no to Ricketts. Also, Aspie got a 3-year extension because of a clause in his old contract. It's not new anymore. And there's my time. I'll be seeing everybody around. All right, bye.
Oh, I was beginning to think, until the end there, I was going to think we might need to put Kate Bush as a bed under that, because that was getting bleak. Yeah, there were a few calamitous moments. I mean, it started off so well. I say started off, it was a bit later on in the game, but Rudiger with a bloody lovely ping.
Yeah, that is the correct noise, because, good Lord, that was far out, and he put it in exactly the right place. It could not have been more perfect, and he clearly meant it as well. So, sometimes when it looks like they've just literally swung a leg at it and see what happened. But having said that, Rudiger is one for a long shot, and
he does like it.
Not all of them come off, but that was good. That was good.
I'd say the fact that he's a centre back makes it 2 better. If we're going to go on a scale, if he'd hit the post as well, it probably would have been 3 better. Because you have to judge these things by the technical ability of the person.
Did it not hit the post? I felt like it did.
Davy Freya had absolutely no chance. And it was beautiful. However, no one told the Brentford team. And Vitaly Janelt of a similar kind of high quality, unexpected shot, I would say. I think it was kind of the outside of his left foot and just absolutely smashed it past the Chelsea defence. Then exactly like Oscar said, I think they were just all at sea for everything. But it was Christian Eriksen getting a goal. The week after I picked him as the FPL differential and backed him in everything that we do, the bastard. But that was nice to see.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think we should try and go on the Brentford positive rather than the Chelsea negative, because to be honest, Chelsea it was a little bit odd from them, I thought. But they, like Oscar says, they are maybe checked out on the league, It's the first time I saw Silva and thought that he looked his age a little bit.
Yeah, that was very uncharacteristic, I think. Especially, was it a mistake for the fourth goal, I think?
Right, yeah.
After the free kick had come in and Brentford had played it into the middle, and both Rudiger and Thiago Silva went for it.
Yeah,
and I'm pretty sure. And then it just went straight. Who was it that came in? I think it was Johan Visser, who just sprinted in and just fucking cracked it. I mean, there were some powerful goals in that game, I think. Even Eriksen's, although it was close, smashed it into the roof of the net. But yeah, I think that's definitely it. And Brentford have had that kind of thing all season where Thomas Frank, even when he did get quite spiky for that brief time where he was saying, I believe in this team, I believe in the kind of the statistics, because that's his background. That's where he comes from. That's what that club is built on, is the kind of statistics model and those kind of bits. And if we look at it, there is a tight pack of teams in terms of expected goal difference per 90 of minus 0.11, minus 0.12 and minus 0.13. And that's Aston Villa, Brentford and Brighton. And I'm kind of thinking when you compare those three together, with Villa, with the amount of players they've signed and kind of the improvements they've made, and perhaps kind of changed the Gerrard a bit too late. Brighton, who've been established for a long time, and as I've said, are kind of at their peak right now, gutted. And for Brentford to solidly be in there with them, I mean, on this stat, which kind of is quite a close indicator for how games should, quote unquote, be. They're above teams like Everton, Wolves, Leeds, Newcastle, Burnley, Watford, Norwich, which as a promoted team, as much as we joke about some of those other teams being absolute shit, it's been a fantastic season really for them. They're on 33 points from 31 games. And I don't think you can really say fairer than that. They're in no danger of going down now. They're in the less than 1% club.
Yeah.
On your 538s. And
if you want some Peterborough positivity, Chuck, that gives us a huge bonus from the Ivan Toney deal. This deal has just kept paying dividends. So I think I might have mentioned it before, but when Brentford went up from the Championship to the Premier League, the bonus we got paid all our player bonuses for us getting promoted to League One, from League One to the Championship.
Wow. And I think you had mentioned that before.
Every five appearances, we get another bonus. Every 5 goals or something, or every couple of goals, I don't know, we get a bonus. This deal just keeps paying dividends, and if they stay up, we get a hefty bonus from it as well. This is going to get close to costing, which Brentford won't mind at all, but 10 million. And for Peterborough, that's insane money. So, that's one good thing that has come out of it. That's meant when we inevitably go back to League One, at least we'll have a bit of a money cushion to be able to spend.
Okay, now all of the Ivan Toney and Brentford love makes a lot more sense to me. It's literally keeping your club afloat.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's smart business then. That's
it really
that's the kind of thing you like to see when you are selling those players in a situation where, coming out of League One, because Tony went before, didn't he? Sorry, when you were still in League One.
I mean, his goals, he was like a cheat code in League One, but we still managed to not go up. And we couldn't keep him any longer. It was the season after we sold him that we went up eventually. But yeah, I mean, great work by Peterborough's ownership there to get a great deal. But anyway, let's basically, what I was originally saying was that I think Brentford positivity should be how we lead any talk of this game, because like you say, the Eriksen thing's a brilliant story. The guy's just it was weird for Brentford to do this, because they do things differently. They do, let's say it again, Moneyball, and they buy little known players. Mm-hmm. You mentioned who was their first goal scorer? Sorry,
Janelt.
Yes, I mean, didn't they get him for £500,000?
It would not surprise me. Chances are Ivan Toney's the most they've ever spent on a player.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it certainly will be. But yeah, and then so that's how they do things. They get youngish players. They look at the stats. Obviously, it was all done from the guy's betting company and the stats that he had from them. And to get in a big name like Eriksen, they had to take the opportunity, obviously, but it could have gone wrong.
It was the perfect level of club for that. I think we've said it before. Once Eriksen was medically cleared, there was no reason for any club to pick him up, but it was the perfect opportunity for a club like Brentford to pick him up. That also has a Danish connection through the owner, I'm pretty sure one of the owners, or at least was apologies if not. Sam, our Scandinavian correspondent, will be able to fill us in. But Thomas Frank is as well. And so having that connection just really paid off for Brentford in quite a big way, that they were at odds to benefit the most. And again, I think that feeds into the approach of that club of calculated risk and using
maybe right,
statistics and that kind of thing, because what he gives you is kind of on a level to, like, you know, the season when Leicester had Esteban Cambiasso, for example, like a really high quality player in that, who is in such a key position that they can affect the front of the pitch, the back of the pitch, everything. And so I think it's fantastic. And I think he's only just or just about to turn 30 as well. So they've got a couple of years out of him.
Yeah, definitely.
That's huge, especially when they stay up.
Yeah. But they did so well in this game. And they managed to really, I think, horizontally on the pitch, stretch out Chelsea, which Chelsea don't usually let that happen. They don't leave gaps between the defenders that get exploited, and they were getting regularly exploited by Brentford on this. They were finding the gaps, and they were running the show for a lot of the game, and I think they were good value for their win. That's why I didn't want to give Oscar the Burnley of the week on that. I can't give him that. That's it. I think Brentford totally deserved this, and Chelsea, of course, still in limbo, it seems, over the ownership.
I didn't want to spend this long on this game, but most of it has been about Brentford, so I'm fine with this. I have not kept abreast of it, and Oscar mentioned like a say no to Ricketts, which I know is like the real problem sports family, but I mean, if you can enlighten myself and perhaps a listener or two.
Well, I haven't got much except that, it's just this, the Chelsea Supporters Trust have delivered a vote of no confidence in this Ricketts takeover bid, which seems to have a lot of money behind it. Some serious investment, so obviously this is all being run by this New York bank, who have been appointed to try and find a buyer. Obviously the UK government has some input, but one of the things you've got to do is you've got to show that you've got serious funds, and that's something that this Ricketts bid has, that, for instance, the John Terry one didn't. It actually has some money,
but lots of pictures of cartoon monkeys.
Exactly, and that's what is value these days, apparently. Yeah, sure.
That was literally the proposal, and then he just went Captain Ludo Legend and walked out.
Yeah, brilliant, great,
fucking
thanks,
twat.
Mate. But yeah, there's a lot of opposition to Ricketts because of previous tweets, comments. All sorts of
the
stuff.
Chelsea Supporters Trust, and I think it's something like the Chelsea Pitch Owners or something like that, hold a lot of weight in this, because they've opposed, again, apologies, I'm not an expert, so I don't really know why I'm going so far into this, but they've opposed a lot of the changes that Abramovich has tried to make for years with regards to Stamford Bridge, and I think knocking part of it down or changing the development or all sorts of other aspects of the club. And so for them to give a vote of no confidence, you would think, in terms of the history, I think it should at least massively matter. The problem is, of course, is that we're dealing, the people dealing with it are an American bank, and let's face it, money talks potentially in this situation. But hopefully, we can get a bit of a win for decency, or at least a more decent option, rather than people that are massive racists or have earned their money through blood or are linked to war criminals, perhaps, or alleged war criminals.
I think I'm happy to not be alleged. Yeah, I don't hold out much hope for what you've just said.
Speaking of not holding out much hope, and Burnley of the week, do the jingle. I spoiled it. Never mind.
Oh, they're better than they ought to be.
Burnley of the week. Brighton 0, Norwich 0.
Yes.
Brighton generating 2.8 XG, the second highest XG of any team that week, with Norwich generating 0.3, but Norwich nearly scoring with that one shot, and it was so fucking close, and it was Pookie, and I was all ready to celebrate with Mikey Wellman. And
yes, one of our Patreons has been extolling the virtues of Pookie throughout the season, and to much derision to start with, but when you actually look at his points, and certainly his points per million, you think, fuck, I should have owned Pookie literally all season. in FPL. But yeah.
No, you shouldn't.
No, I mean, it's cheap. There's no good forwards in FPL this season, so why not? Yeah, so this is fun, isn't it? Brighton continuing down this path of smashing the XG, but then getting absolutely nothing to show for it. Morpay doing the rugby conversion for his penalty, which is always good to see.
I forgot about that.
Thought you'd enjoy that, yeah. But
he's so fucking shit.
The really fun thing that I saw from Brighton this week is that Graham Potter says his players are getting very upset and very put off by the crowd shouting "shoot" at the players when they get the ball.
Right.
And he's tried to say to the fans, "Don't do that. It puts them off. Don't do that. They get upset with that." Yeah, no, don't shout "shoot." I mean,
to be fair, if you've ever been to the Amex, like they have plastic clappers. They're not expecting fucking noise from plastic fans as well. You know what I mean? That just travel down from Chelsea because they can't get a ticket at Stamford Bridge. Don't shoot. Don't shout "shoot."
But the thing is, they don't need any encouragement because I think I saw one stat that was it 31 shots in this game? 4 on target. 4 out of that. So
4.
That's good. One of them wasn't the penalty. Yeah, honestly, just very poor at the minute. I mean, I seem to be relating everything back to FPL this week, but Arsenal got Brighton this week, and I'm thinking of bringing in Saka and captaining him because I think
do it.
Brighton just look absolutely appalling. And yeah, there's not much more to say about this game. Obviously, Norwich are already down, and Brighton are just completely dull in the mid-table of the bottom mini league that is going on.
Yeah, and they're only slipping.
Yeah,
they're only slipping. I mean, I've got a couple of fun facts that whilst you've been talking, I've done a little look. Brighton, for example, have won 7 games in the league this season. That's okay for a team in that position. 4 of those came in the first 5 game weeks.
Ooh, okay.
So in the resulting 25 games, they've won 3. And I know they drew with Palace on my birthday, and that's a shame. But since my birthday in the league, draw, win. That's good. Against Watford. Loss, draw with Norwich. So I'll leave that one there. If we're going to talk about games with no goals, let's go to a game with loads of goals. Jeffy P, the Tottenham roller coaster rides again. You're going round for another journey. Take a sick bag with you afterwards because who knows what's going to fucking happen. Tottenham Hotspur 5.
As many as 5.
Eddie Howe's got to write that apology letter, so he better brush up on his Italian. Newcastle United 1. I mean, nearly flipped the script on this one after Fabian Schär got a free kick, but Tottenham managed to sort themselves out and generate 3.2 XG, which was only 0.4 more than Brighton, but they scored 5 goals. For instance, just off the top of my head, just pulling a reference point here. But bloody, I mean, Newcastle kind of returned to what Newcastle should be. And this Spurs team that is, I joke about it being a roller coaster, but like when it's going well, it is fun. When
it clicks, it looks great, doesn't it? I mean, Kane was 5 goals. Kane doesn't get on the score sheet and yet still manages to look fucking great. And it's really clicking for him in the latter part of this season.
In that role he played, he was unplayable on that day. Like you couldn't do anything, and they kind of highlighted it with his pass map and his distribution on Match of the Day, which is worth a look if anyone does see it, because we've said before about when Kane drops back and just staying there too much, but he was playing that quarterback role.
It's deliberate and considered now, isn't it?
It really is, and it's functional, and the changes from it are quick. It's not staying in that area to dwell and just base yourself around that. It's then advancing and having those sprints and having those runs and being a lot more mobile and being Harry Kane. And I think Heung-min Son has been amazing. I'd argue in terms of impact, like quick impact, maybe you can correct me here, but I don't think there's been a better transfer this season than Kulusevski.
I can't argue with that at all. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sure there are some that have been great. Obviously, you look at Luis Diaz, and he's been really good for Liverpool. That feels like a plug and play. Brentford have signed quite a few players. Palace have signed, have built a really good squad, but I think it's kind of taken a lot more time to get there. But Kulusevski came in January.
Yeah.
And he's absolutely flying.
Yep.
It's mad. So what is that? 2 goals and 6 assists in 8-9 games.
And the big thing for me as well, because you're absolutely right, he's gone straight in, as some other players have gone, Eriksen, Diaz, like you say, but this guy's 21. And that's fucking scary, because he's very, very good.
Yeah, and as I said before, he was one of the people that were bought by Juventus when Juventus then got, Ronaldo on a free, which isn't a free, and they struggled in that environment because Juventus, I'm not a huge expert on this, of course, but they had a similar kind of environment as like Manchester United have now, where they were just throwing out money, or PSG, for example, where they're just throwing money at it, doing whatever, and creating this horrible environment where players can't flourish. And they shipped Kulusevski and Bentancur, who had been underperforming for years in that environment, and you put them in Spurs, and you put in Conte, who is a phenomenal manager, and they just instantly they look up to speed in the league, they look up to speed in that team, and he's doing really good things, I think, there. And it's just, can they keep that consistency? But it's they're doing what they need to keep the top 4 race alive.
That we thought was done and dusted a little while ago. We were relatively convinced that Arsenal, we were saying, well, Man City are 75% for the league and Arsenal are 75% for the top 4, so it's pretty much done. And both things have gone back to being a race now. And like you say, these 2 players that have come in, because you're right to bring up pronounce it for me, Chuck.
Bentancur.
Thank you. They're Conte players, aren't they? Like, they just seem like they're absolutely full of energy and pressing when they need to, like intelligence. And I just think, I think that Spurs could really build something with Conte. It depends, obviously, how long he wants to stay there, because he's a law unto himself. I think he'll do whatever he wants.
I think he managed to use his weight and the way he is in the lead up to January to get some results. It's, we said it previously with the way Mourinho is, and, it wasn't a good appointment, but, do you double down on that and keep going? And Daniel Levy didn't really. And I don't think they can really stop in the summer, especially as we go into a World Cup year. Probably need to bring up that squad a little bit where
they do.
Oh, we haven't mentioned this. 5 subs. 5 subs will be a thing. That happened this week.
That's a very good point, actually. Yeah, so I suppose with that change, what you think, squads around this going for Champions League football sort of situation, they need to be deeper now.
I think it's interesting because you get that in the European competitions where you get that rotation, and then having it in the Premier League, I think it means that teams can offer more minutes and keep more of certain players happy. I think that there are a lot of people's concerns about it are fair enough, but we've reached a point where, I mean, you have the vote often enough, and eventually the vote gets in, and then it's not going to get undone, right?
Yeah.
This is the 4th vote that had to happen. However, there was a majority now. So I think teams are kind of realising that relative to the level where they are, the differences that get made aren't as huge.
Yeah.
And if anything, probably the teams that are going to get disadvantaged the most are the promoted teams, because they're now going to have to sign even more players, I guess, to try and fill those spots to manage it. But it would have been nice if there were certain corollaries on some of the subs, like at least one had to be produced from your academy and be under 21, for example.
That'd be interesting, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Or I don't know. Or you have to have used a certain number of substitutions by a certain point or something like that as well. I don't know, to stop teams just from going, we'll just do 3 subs at the 88th minute and 2 subs in the 90th. Or because,
I think, they still have to be done in 3 windows, don't they? Or you know what I mean? They still have to be done in 3 tranches. You can't just bring on one player 5 times to try and kill time.
Yeah, of course. But the reason I say that is because if you're saying the reason is because you're trying to manage injuries and those kind of things, I think they should probably have looked at kind of the science part of that and seen, right, from what minute do we see quite a sharp rise in soft tissue injuries?
Yeah.
And perhaps that will be, like, it feels about like the 75th minute or so.
Yeah.
So, like, you need to make at least 2-3 of your subs, of the 5 subs, maybe before the 75th minute to show that you are trying to use it in that positive way. I don't know. I know, of course, there are pitfalls and positives across all of them, but I guess just keeping it simple.
But yeah, so this, that is something that will need to be thought about. I think you're right. Tottenham probably do have some squad strengthening to do, just because the teams around them are going to do that. There's no way Man United aren't going to try and improve over summer. You would have thought Arsenal. I mean, they've always been a bit funny about spending money, but I don't know. They might see their chance. I think that even potentially West Ham might spend some proper money if it.
But they didn't this year, did they? Really?
They didn't. No, but they might see that they're getting themselves established and they won't want to fall away. It's it's a very good point. Squad depth's going to be an interesting one with that. But Tottenham have got a race back on, lovely, and that's because they put the pressure on. They put the pressure onto Arsenal, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. Wow, another team sort of
put a bit of pressure on themselves. Yeah,
put it over the edge, didn't they? So, I guess if you really want to,
I would like to. Yeah,
if you really want to talk about it, we had Crystal Palace 3, Arsenal.
Just checks notes.
Just double check that 0.
Oh, is it?
Zip, nada. Ne pasa nada, amigo. Crystal Palace generating 1.6 XG, 0.75 coming from a penalty, 0.76, whatever it is, and 0.8 for Arsenal. I've got to say, very surprised, but also not surprised. I think the thing I'm most surprised about with this game is the way Arsenal performed, especially after I have been quite defensive of Arsenal and what they've built or what they were at least trying to build throughout the season, be it from the transfer window in the summer when we started to kind of in the last few weeks when they really have started to click. And I think this was kind of nothing more than kind of a blip, really, and unfortunate. But the other side of that is I think that this Palace team have really grown into a mature unit that knows what the others do and what the others need to do. You know, we look at the start of the season and people that are established starters in the team, as much as we can see. You've got Gehi and Anderson as a centre-back pairing. Tyrick Mitchell, although he's been at the club for ages, was second fiddle to Patrick Van Aanholt last season. Yeah. So he's hardly played relatively. I think he had 50 appearances a couple of weeks ago. So 50% of his appearances have been this season, roughly. Conor Gallagher obviously coming in as a lone player. Eze coming back is effectively like a new signing. But then you've got Hodgson Edouard, Jean-Philippe Mateta, who's just a completely different player to from last season or under Roy Hodgson. And then you've got Michael Elise as well. And it always such a quick...
Who you didn't even have for this match as well, we should say, because when I saw that I was like, oh, that's a shame. Like I love watching him play. You know?
I did think it was a shame, and I thought, why is Jordan Ayew playing? And then Jordan Ayew bangs in from outside the box with his left foot. Like, get fucked. That's it. That in and of itself is worth 2 goals. Palace won 4-0. Arsenal were now relegated with Chelsea and Newcastle. Yeah. I'm sorry, guys. I don't make the rules.
You literally just have, but yeah, fine.
Don't make the rules. I don't make the rules. These are put upon me.
So let's talk though with Palace, because what I particularly thought was interesting about this match is, and it was talked about a lot, but it is true. A Monday night at Selhurst Park, the crowd are always fucking up for it. Like it, you know, that must be It must affect the players in a positive way. But I thought what was interesting was the difference between, say, how Palace played against Man City. And what I'm saying is I'm talking about intelligence of what's happening in the game and reacting to it. So Palace did a fantastic job against Man City. They dropped deep. They attacked when they needed to, but they managed that game out to the result it was, which was a draw, wasn't it?
0-0.
So and it was a perfectly played game, I thought, from Palace. And here they were not they weren't cowed by the fact that it was Arsenal at all. They went out fast. Palace got out quick, and they realised they could get to them, and so they didn't stop. No. They realised we can put this game to bed, and they did relatively quickly. You went in at half-time 2-0 up. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
And
how many times, especially in the first half of the season, was my complaint about how we're managing the end of games, how we were dealing with set pieces and stuff like that. And I think those are the situations where it comes so much about time and working together. And that's what I mean. You look at the set piece goal is a little bit of luck. It kind of, Joachim Andersen doesn't know that much about it. But then you look in what an advanced position he is, and the ball he played into Ayew.
Oh, yeah, beauty.
It's exceptional. And the guy's a centre-back. And then he took a free kick. And it was a pretty decent free kick, all things considered. And it's just having those units and the positivity that also spreads from Mark Guehi, Conor Gallagher and Tyrick Mitchell all getting England call-ups in the international break and all playing. 3 players from Palace getting their debut in a season, and basically their first seasons at the club with England. That's huge.
Those players had their heads up, didn't they? Do you know what I mean? Just the confidence of a call up, And
it's the mixture of kind of attitudes, and I've trying to work this out with a couple of teams of how they've approached kind of cup competitions, and then how that can feed into the league, because when you have that and you drive towards that, you can use that as the extra momentum and joy. And that's why, you look at West Ham, and they stumbled a bit for a while, because I think they kind of, now they're in a situation where maybe they're only going to concentrate on the cup,
Yeah.
And Chelsea, exactly like Oscar said, are kind of in that similar situation. And it feels like you need to use each game as the impetus for the next one, that it doesn't, to try, I guess, put the different competitions or what's coming up or the fixture congestion out of your mind. And so seeing a performance where Palace in all competitions just kept 4 clean sheets in a row, and they've played Man City, Wolves, Arsenal and Everton. Everton aside, those are all really decent teams for attacking, well, not Wolves, but as in they're high performing teams this year. They're not mugs at all. And we're giving convincing performances where we can sit there and go, genuinely, we deserve that. I think that there possibly were a few decisions that could have gone Arsenal's way. I remember seeing a couple of things that you kind of marginal penalty calls, perhaps. But, I know we've been on the receiving end of that as well. And it was kind of in the situation then where if Arsenal did get it, it's not like they deserved it from the balance of play or that kind of thing. No. And Arteta was fairly open and honest in his assessment of that, and kind of came out and apologised. I don't think, as far as I'm aware, he wrote 2-page essay on Twitter, but he was fair and honest and expects better. And I think they can genuinely, and they should expect better than that. And it's not what they've what they have been achieving this season, Arsenal, and it's going to be really interesting. I talk about the Palace team. Look at Arsenal, like Ramsdale, Ben White, Tomiyasu, Tavares, I think came in this season with Lokonga. Who else? We've got Smith Rowe, Martinelli, Erdegaard. Like that front attack that's playing off Lacazette is a beautiful thing. It really is. And then they've got, Granit Xhaka and Thomas Partey, who, believe it or not, when they played together this season, I think their win percentage was like 75%.
Oh, really?
And without them was about 20-something. It was really low.
That's interesting.
Big difference that they make. That's why I thought it was weird when Xhaka moved to left back in this game.
Yeah.
bit weird. But that's just kind of I think it's really interesting for the rest of the season. Hopefully, if it does carry on with this top four, and I mean, you never know if Chelsea don't sort their shit out, as much as the odds say, and we've got that it can happen.
Yeah.
We've seen stuff change quickly in this league.
But I mean, for these two teams, we got Palace, who have got 11 points out of the last 15 in the league, and a top of you sort of, if you look at the table, there's a sort of best of the rest, and that's where Palace are, because there's a fair few points between you and Wolves, but you're ahead of everyone else. I mean that when we were dropping points late on and stuff, it would have been easy to say Palace might have stuttered to a 14th, 15th finish, but you've absolutely come through, and you've got some good fixtures coming up as well. So there is a chance to sort of solidify that top half finish. And
good,
as you say. Then you've got Arsenal, who have now just slightly let Tottenham in. No, they've got a game in hand still, so they're still in the driving seat. Maybe we've got the North London derby.
We got the friendly derby to come
soon. Yeah. So it's it's all got quite interesting. Who have we got left?
And Man United have lost for it, which is just great because they're not going to win a trophy and they're not going to qualify for the Champions League.
Well, they might not even qualify for any European competition.
Yeah, everyone needs to fucking get behind West Ham, and fuck it, I'll even cheer for Wolves if it's gonna, what I mean?
Could happen. I mean, Man United, we don't like to talk about them a lot, and we're not going to particularly buck that trend here, except to say that it's a bit of a weird one with Rangnick, because I don't know what he is.
I don't think he knows what he is. I don't think Man United know what he is. I don't think...
It's really
what is the
weird.
Point? What is his point?
It's really weird. He can't wait to get to his cushy upstairs job. Is the
it's just a consultant.
Genuine thing of it.
What's he fucking consulting?
Well, I don't know. But
trying to implement this weird tactical style that the players aren't ever going to buy into. Because
this is the thing.
This is going to be gone in a year.
Apparently the dressing room is in trouble. They don't like him. He is starting to turn on them. In the post matches, we're getting the the Lampard style
Are we
comments.
Getting the
Yeah, players aren't doing it for. What does Rashford have to do to get a
German?
game? Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's bollocks. What does Rashford have to do to get a game? I mean,
move to Palace.
Well, I know that the guy's not
or play well. One of the two.
Yeah, I know he's not been in brilliant form, but for fuck's sake, when you've got he must not be named out, Cavani's out, you'd be like, come on, boss, like put me in. This is ridiculous, and he's not getting a chance. He needs to play to score goals to get form. We've seen Rashford in previous seasons when he's been on runs. Maybe he's one of these streaky players and he needs a bit of confidence, but you're not going to get it by playing. I think he played Bruno up top for this, and it's just Man United are just not anywhere near good enough at the minute. And I say good enough for their fans, because obviously their fans have an expectation of success, or at the very least an expectation of some drive and some belief that they can beat an out of sorts Leicester team who are putting all their eggs in the UEFA Nations Conference, whatever it's called.
I mean, I'm loving the fact that Palace play them next week, but they've got a Europa Conference League game in midweek, and then we play them, and then it's a great time for us to play them.
Definitely,
and and they don't look great, and they've been struggling with injuries and all that kind of stuff, and it's only through the disallowed goal that
exactly.
Man United got fortunate.
Yeah, exactly. And I think they're a club that I feel like have got trouble beyond the let's just change the manager this season. I don't know if it goes much deeper than that. I don't know if we're looking at an Everton style chickens coming home to roost from backroom mismanagement situation.
When it goes wrong, it can go wrong.
Yeah.
You'll get situations like PSG where there's these players that are paid so much money that Pochettino can't do anything. He can't discipline these players.
No.
Because they're getting paid. There was something that came out a little while ago. 22 of the 25 top paid players in Ligue 1 play for PSG.
Yeah.
And Pochettino is paid 4 times as much as the next lowest manager. So if Pochettino wants to drop Neymar, and fuck, we didn't mention this, Neymar played on his birthday this year.
Yeah,
he
I
didn't
know.
go away for his sister's birthday. Unbelievable. But he's just stuck in his contract. They've got all these players that are stuck in these contracts going, well, you know what? It doesn't fucking matter. If I play shit, we'll still win the league. Yeah, we won't do anything in the Champions League, but that's only going to piss off the owners. And we're just going to run down these sweet, sweet contracts.
Yeah.
You've got players that were great a few years ago and great prospects that are now stuck in this mentality. And I really wonder, United that always used to be this club where, you know, for God knows how many years, there had always been at least one academy product in the starting 11, and they deserve to be there on merit because they're great. And there were more than that, and they just achieved. And people talk about this. What is really stupid is the Man United way, or this is Manchester United and whatever. And I think that's because probably within Manchester United at that time, it was such a cult that was so holistic that it wasn't about playing a certain way or doing whatever. It was just about Ferguson managing it and constantly adapting it and rotating it, and that's why they were so successful.
Yeah.
And that's probably why none of them can actually articulate what Manchester United are or what they quote unquote should be. What they should be, it doesn't fucking matter. They should just be well run, win stuff, or at least be competing, which they aren't. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but it just should be for a club that size. I don't think that's a controversial or an out there thing to say. But after this season, you know, the last time Manchester United won the league was 2012, 2013. They aren't getting back to winning anything in the next 4 or 5 years, league-wise. It's not happening. Man City are at way higher a standard. Liverpool, their drop-off isn't going to happen because they're already regenerating with players like Jota, with Luis Diaz, with the defenders that are coming through, with Harvey Elliott's, with this kind of thing that are clicking. Chelsea, big question mark, who knows? But Man United are stuck in this. So you then go 5 years without winning anything. You're then looking at 15 years generation of just nothingness from a team that in the 15 years previously probably won 50% of the Premier Leagues.
Yeah.
If not more. And it's wild. That's why I think that we can't not keep coming back to it even though we don't want to.
Yeah.
Because growing up was hell because everyone in fucking South London was a Man United fan.
Well, yeah, exactly. In the 90s, it was just... They were the team that everyone who was a casual, certainly, you know, living where I live, where we didn't have any Premier League teams around us because Leicester hadn't pushed up there yet. Yeah. You know, there were just a shitload of Man United fans because that's what happened. You know, in the 80s, the same thing happened with Liverpool and so on.
And it's then accessibility as well. It's just like the very few matches. Oscar's mentioned it before about the reason you go for teams transatlantically. If you don't have the emotional connection through history or anything like that, like you have to make kind of a calculated decision. Yeah. Do you support a team? What teams you support if they exist or not, or what are you actually going to be fed with? Because we're spoiled by this information age we live in now, as opposed to, you know, literally putting on teletext at the end of the day or reading in the paper the next day, trying to see what the scores were around the country or
exactly
that kind of stuff. So,
obviously, we don't have a news section anymore, but we should mention before we move on, because linked to Man United, Louis van Gaal, our thoughts are with him because he's said that he's
very sad.
Receiving prostate cancer treatment, and he was always incredibly entertaining in the Premier League, and we should say our thoughts are with him. Definitely.
Van Gaal's army.
Just
Louis van Gaal's army.
More personalities like that in the game would be welcome, wouldn't it?
Yeah, current Netherlands manager for however many times. So you know. We send our thoughts and love out to all of him and hope he makes a very speedy recovery and we get to see him kind of leading that team the World Cup in the winter as well.
Absolutely.
Good shout, Ian. Thank you for mentioning that. Were there any other games? Everton are still shit. There you go.
Lord.
Shock. Michael Keane. We talk about Palace and the stability and that kind of thing. You look at Everton, and it kind of starts with that. You got Jordan Pickford, Michael Keane, fucking God knows who else that's there in defence. And probably those midfielders look back and go, fuck. Because all these teams play out from the back, and like you need to have confidence and competence. And and Frank Lampard can say, I'm confident with 10 games left, we'll do well. Like, I'm not, Frank. I'm really not. You're only there because Burnley are below you.
Well,
What a situation to be in after your club has spent £500 million on players.
He seemingly had no idea what he was getting into.
But that's his fault. That's his fucking fault.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Because anyone with Google can see what he was getting into.
Yeah, because you're absolutely right. I think when you look at the back four they put out, it feels like a championship back four.
And it will be a championship
it
back
will
four.
be, and it'll probably be a mid-table.
Because they'll go down and no one's fucking buying them.
Michael Keane, as you say, just been a net negative to Everton this season.
They're getting desperate. That's the problem. That desperation, I think, is starting to set in with a lot of these players.
Agree. Yeah.
And Lampard's main job now is to stop that, because they would just kept making bad decisions over and over again, biting when they didn't need to.
Yeah.
They just need to bore teams to death. They need to get in that trenches mentality of get your flat back lines in. I know this is so Brexity boring shit, but like they need something, because everything they're trying to do so much, almost like on an assumption that it would work. And right now, like you don't need that. You don't need imposing a new tactical style or whatever. You just need fucking points.
I couldn't agree more. You just have to fucking keep it tight now and try and nick a goal. And we are looking at Everton after Burnley, which obviously we don't know the result of the Burnley match.
Yeah.
But they've got Man
United. And neither will
United.
you if you record it and delete it.
Yeah. Which is what you should do.
That's what you should do.
Everton have got Man United, Leicester, Liverpool and Chelsea as their next four.
Then Leicester again.
Then Leicester again, yeah, absolutely. Everton might be helped by the fact that, as you say, Leicester might have eyes on other competitions, but still, that is not an easy run of 4 or 5 games. And if they haven't, let's talk in the past tense, if they haven't beat Burnley, I think they're going to be in a whole world of trouble. And I don't, like you say, that there's only one way out of this, and that is to try and scrape 1-0s and maybe scrape points, but they're not going to scrape a point off Liverpool. I can't imagine a world where Liverpool don't win that game 3-0 fairly comfortably.
Oh, in theory, it becomes who wins out of Man City and Liverpool, and then they both win every game until the end of time.
Yeah.
And so, if Burnley, or if Burnlly have had or are beating Everton at time of recording, there is 1 point between those teams. And they would both have 9 games to go. And you've cited Everton's fixtures: Man United, Leicester, Liverpool, Chelsea, Leicester, Watford, Brentford, Palace, Arsenal. All of those teams will be gunning for whatever they can for various reasons, be it the financial gain for teams like Brentford, who I think in kind of a Leeds way will not back down or will not stop, I don't think.
No.
Not necessarily as gung-ho.
Yeah, they'll want to have the best of season as they can, absolutely.
Abso-fucking-lutely. You've got teams that are competing for the league, teams that are competing for top 4. That is a horrific run of games. And then, I'm saying this before looking at Burnley have Everton, then Norwich, West Ham, Southampton, Wolves, Watford, Villa twice, Newcastle and Tottenham.
Yeah.
There are much more games in there where Burnley can turgid it up and get points. Whereas Everton have to go at quite a few of their teams.
Yeah.
And that I don't see any joy coming from when they go at people. So this game, no matter how Frank Lampard wants to dress it up, and Burnley did not really try against Man City. They did not need to expel that much energy. Everton were trying and desperate, I think, against West Ham. The desperation fucking sets in here after this game, because that will be huge if Burnley have had or are winning that game. depending on when you listen or when we release this.
Well covered.
Thank you. Speaking of then fixtures for next week, let's go into that. We start off the game week Friday the 8th of April. Whoop, whoop, whoop. 6:30, whatever we're in now, British summertime. That'll do. Deadline for your FPL teams. Mark, Daffin.
Face up, Mark. Come on.
Then Saturday morning, we start off... Oh, sorry, did I say it was Newcastle Wolves? I forget. Fuck it. No one cares about that game. Then we have Everton, Man United on the Saturday. Arsenal, Brighton, Southampton, Chelsea and Watford, Leeds make up your 3 o'clocks. Following the day is Aston Villa versus Spurs. Then Brentford, West Ham, Leicester, Palace, Norwich and Burnley at 2 o'clock on Sunday. And then I'm not familiar with these teams. Manchester Kitty versus Liverpool.
Never heard of them.
So there's kind of one fixture there that stands out a bit more than the others, isn't it?
Just a smidge, yeah. Just a smidge.
Norwich Burnley is going to be really
Big
fucking
time.
shit.
Big time. Huge game.
The dog shit derby. And it's live. Genuinely, that's on TV.
Is it?
Brentford, West Ham, Leicester Palace, Norwich Burnley on telly. No one needs that. Record that, delete that.
Terrible choice, yeah.
Yeah, as well. It's City Liverpool, isn't it? And we didn't want to talk about them much in the fixture rundown because it was just kind of the age-old professional job that was done by both.
Yeah,
we also wanted to give a bit of time to see because they are both playing in the Champions League as we speak. Liverpool are currently 2-1 up against Benfica as we record, Ian, and Man City Atletico is 0-0. As it you probably would be because the Man City have had 75% possession as well. So yes, the European dice is in effect. But look, they both did exactly what they needed to do, and there's not that much.
Man City Burnley is an absolute nothing of a game. I think from an analysis point of view, I think the only difference is I think Liverpool in their game against Watford maybe looked a little bit leggier. They looked a little bit more tired, perhaps.
Okay, do you think?
Only a touch. I think there were...
XG-wise, you had 2.1 to 0.6 in the Liverpool-Watford game in favour of Liverpool.
Yep.
And in the Man City game, Burnley had 0.1. And Man City had 1.9, so yeah, they weren't fucking trying. They're just sitting there the whole time, just literally. They just had books out studying Everton.
I think that's fair enough. I think that's fair enough. I don't blame them for that at all. They're not going to be targeting Man City as a way to get points. They are going to be targeting Everton. That is absolutely fine to just go. Just take it easy, lads. Just maybe keep it down below sort of 5-0. That'd be lovely.
Chill the fuck out. I'm just going to get on with my knitting. It's that picture that does the rounds every so often of this guy on like a FIFA chat, and he's like, bro, you're obviously going to beat me. Can you just play around? Can you just pass to yourself while I go make a sandwich quick?
Brilliant.
And it's like that.
Yeah.
Sean Dice was like that. But you mentioned the Liverpool-Watford game. Obviously, there was an interesting penalty. And that reminds me, actually, there's another penalty we'll speak about in a bit, where, and we see this a lot. We've seen this a lot. And Juraj Kuška literally tackles Diogo Jota to the floor.
Yep.
And Roy Hodgson said, because it was given by VAR, rightly, I thought, when a player doesn't look at the ball completely and wraps both his arms around a player and brings him to the ground, he said that the player didn't even appeal for it. And decisions like that are not what VAR was brought in for.
It's literally what it was brought in for. Roy,
how can you see a decision that should be given that wasn't given, and say, you fucking geriatric fuck? Just
what a terrible argument to choose.
What a terrible argument. The player didn't appeal. It's on a par with similar, OAP manager Neil Warnock when he said, well, he's not endangered the life of the player, is he?
Exactly.
About Joe Rolls or whatever it was when I didn't receive a red card.
If you want to argue anything, you can argue consistency. You could say those things are often not given, but it is a foul. And
it is a foul. I was trying to think because it felt because obviously the discussion is that this happens a lot of corners, right? And so I'm starting to wonder if whether a lot of the times it doesn't get given is because there's another foul in the box the other way at the same time, right?
Right.
So if that's happening with both teams and the ball comes in, neither of them kind of are playing for the ball, and off the ball you've got team red, foul team yellow, and also team yellow, foul team red. How can you give that? Because it's kind of, they're both fouls, right? So they kind of have to cancel each other out, even though technically they shouldn't, which is just quite a fun quirk. But this, like, I watched it so many times. There's zero. Everyone else is playing so fairly and going for the ball and doing whatever. And then you've just got Kushka tackling him to the floor. And I think Jota probably didn't appeal because that fucking happens at every corner there is.
Yeah.
There is always someone with two arms wrapped around. And surely it's just got to be once both teams are going, that's it. Because otherwise, every corner should basically be a goal, a free kick, or a penalty.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I think.
I thought I got a bit angry when I was watching Roy afterwards. I thought he embarrassed himself. It was ridiculous. Like you say, the sentence. This isn't what VAR was brought in for. It literally is to get these decisions right. He's a desiccated coconut of a man. It was very odd. It's just
it's got to be sad for you to see from one of your classmates. You know, to see this.
Hey,
just
he was in the year above me. Come on.
Okay, my apologies, but it's poor. It's so poor, Roy.
It's embarrassing.
Someone
for
who's
someone.
meant to be an elder statesman,
Yeah.
someone who's looked up to, someone who's been a real champion for change in the length of time he's been managing. He started managing before Eddie Howe and Frank Lampard were born, right? And they're Premier League managers with him at the minute. To say that's not what VAR was brought in for...
It's really embarrassing.
For once, we had the definition of clear and obvious error. For once. An indisputable, clear and obvious error. And it apparently, according to Roy, it isn't get given.
And the weird thing is, I don't think he has to do anything here. Like, Watford have just lost 2-0 to Liverpool. And it's like, fair enough. It wasn't a shellacking. It wasn't 6-0. And you've got to come out and sort of be embarrassed. You just lost 2-0 to Liverpool. That's
Even
fair
still,
enough.
it's inconsequential. It's like Burnley playing City.
Yeah.
Watford should just be like, look, this isn't our fight, right? This isn't our race.
Exactly, yeah.
It's
Who have we got
these
next
are not
week?
the teams.
Leeds, Brentford, we'll have a look at those.
Yeah, Leeds, Brentford, they've got City. Switch off for that one.
Exactly.
Burnley, Palace, Everton, Leicester, Chelsea. They've got their fights
Games
that they
you can
need to
target,
pick.
yeah.
Jesus. And then the other penalty, which was the Aston Villa one against Wolves,
Yeah.
which I just don't get. I didn't
at
get
all.
it. In defence to anyone, I guess, that is saying that I'm mad, I've watched it like twice. But as far as I can see, the goalkeeper's completely going to play the ball, doesn't dive into Ollie Watkins, and Ollie Watkins just kind of kicks through the ball, into him, but the ball is completely gone. And the weird thing we've had this season is that there's meant to have been this thing brought in with penalties where, like, contact itself in the box, or contact itself anywhere, isn't necessarily a foul. And I don't get how, unless they believe he impeded him from taking the shot, but as far as I can see, like, Jose Sarr had every right to go for that ball.
Yeah, I found it very odd. I thought, if anything, it felt like a foul the other way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think that was a penalty at all. But, yeah, I mean, ultimately, luckily it had no...
No, well, I don't know, because Villa came close then at the end. They came close after that. They really came out firing. And I think it was getting a bit squeaky bum time for Wolves after that. Someone missed an absolute sitter. And it was really nice to get the reminder by seeing it come up as own goal Ashley Young to remind me that, yes, he is still a professional footballer.
Mike Dean's 100th red card. Ashley Young.
Mike Dean's 100th red card. Oh, Mike Dean. I miss him. I've still got more to say that we missed off on the episode last week.
That episode's done very well.
We've had upwards of 4 compliments about that episode. And the Premier League, they're just completely... they're teasing us. I don't know, maybe it's a warm-up for him. The only game we get Mike Dean on this week is in the VAR booth against Watford Leeds.
Oh.
That's sad, isn't it?
When
This
we've
isn't...
got title decider.
We've got Man City, Liverpool, and you give Anthony Taylor. Fuck off.
Oh, really?
Mike Dean.
Anthony Taylor.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, I know. Not that necessarily we'd read any referee and feel inspired because they're referees. And this is how the pod will tail off, and Ian should have already played the music. But anyway, that rounds up the fixtures.
Don't mind Andre Mariner.
Shut up, you prick. Colossal game this week. Say goodbye, Ian Stimson.
Bye, Chuck. Bye, everyone.
It's bye from me, and thank you as ever to our producers Johnny Worthington, Nate Whittam, Mark Daffin, Sam Danby, Jeff Pedder, and Andy Penpraise from Sutton, who lost in the Papa John's final. Sad face.